Hey people, what's up? It's your boy. I figured before I run out of time and get too lazy, I want to throw up some quick UFC 89 predictions. A lot of people want to hate on this card, just say, it's call it a fight night or whatever, but a lot of these guys you won't see on fight night unless they lose a couple more, but I think this is a really solid card. I mean, it's obviously not a pay-per-view, so it's coming at the right price. Really solid card, really solid fighters. Doesn't really have that cherry on top that you expect from your average pay-per-view, but this isn't a pay-per-view. It's a nice live event from England. It's live, it's free, it's got good fighters, and I think good times will be had by all. Before I go any further, I want to give a big thank you to all my new subscribers. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all my subscribers, and I hope I don't disappoint. I'm going to start this out, with, of course, Michael the Count Bisping. Is in the main event against Chris Lieben. I'm a big Michael Bisping fan. I like the guy. Maybe it's the accent, maybe it's the fights, but I've always, been a big Michael Bisping supporter. Um, he's been in. This will be his third fight at middleweight, and he's gonna go up against the crippler Chris Lieben, a very dangerous guy. He's hard to, he's got a great chin, and he's got dynamite in his hands. Um, Michael Bisping, of course, as Ultimate Fighter contestants, they're under a lot of criticism. I think Chris Lieben is probably the internet favorite in this because nobody on the net likes Michael Bisping. I've been seeing he gets no love. I think it's because of that fight with Matt Hamill or something. I mean, and I think people just really need to get over it. A decision is a decision. It wasn't that clean. It wasn't that clear. And Michael Bisping got the due. And he's went on, he had a real good fight with Rashad. That was a close one that he probably could have won. That probably could have went his way, but it didn't. That's why they're decisions. When you finish fights, like Kenny Florian, you don't have to worry about the judges throwing it another way. So everybody, don't do that. Let it go. He's up against Chris Lieben in his third middleweight fight. So far, Michael Bisping has looked unstoppable. He's very light on his feet. He looks in great shape, and he is just doing a real good job so far. And he's up against his biggest test at Chris Lieben. Chris Lieben is a guy that's hard to knock out. He won't break like a lot of guys, like the couple guys that Michael Bisping fought. He's not gonna break mentally, and if you screw up, he'll knock you the fuck out just like that. But I think Michael Bisping is a very intelligent fighter. I mean, I think he's gonna fight a very smart fight. He's gonna do a lot of stick and move in and out. As hard as Chris Lieben hits, he's not that polished a striker. I mean, he, of course, if you get in there and if you trade with him, you'll probably end up on the short end of the stick. But I think in his last couple fights, he went up against let me see, Alessio Sakara. He knocked out Alessio Sakara because I think if Alessio probably would have been a little bit smarter, wouldn't have tried to trade with him, and if Alessio had any kind of a chin, which so far shown to not have, that he probably would have been able to beat Bisping. He's dinged him up a little bit, but he traded, and he didn't have nothing to trade with as far as a chin, and he got knocked out. And Terry Martin had him on the ropes a little bit, but walked around without his hands up. It's never a good idea. Like I said, Chris Lieben, he won't break. He's in the fight. He's always in the fight, and he's gonna, knock you out if you're not careful. I think Bisping will be careful. He's gonna be very careful, very sharp in this fight, and I think that I don't see him knocking him out. There won't. I don't. I won't. I think Michael Bisping will win, but I'm gonna lean towards a decision. I think he can cruise to a decision if he fights a smart, very good fight. Just does some good boxing. He'll just outbox Chris Lieben, and if Lieben gasses, he'll probably finish him probably late. But if Michael Bisping doesn't rush in and act dumb, this is all Bisping all day. The next fight you can have Keith Jardine versus Brandon the Truth Vera. I think this is a very interesting fight, very hard to call. Brandon Vera is a very talented fighter. I know he's very, he had a pretty good career before, coming in. I think people talked about a layoff or whatever. I'm not sure. I wasn't watching a whole lot since then, but his last two fights didn't go too well. He was fighting against guys that were just too big and too skilled at that size for him. I think he's, a lot of people saying he's much better suited at two at 205, and I think last fight was very boring. I remember sitting there watching it. It was just, ugh. But I don't think he'll have any gassing problems. I think he'll probably do that wide open style. I think he'll fight a very exciting fight. Likes to let the hands and feet go. He's very good in the clinch. Got that Muay Thai. Got a good wrestling background, and I think he'll look a lot better in this fight than he will in his last. And he's going up against Keith Jardine, who's also had a very forgettable performance last time he was in. And let me see. I said the Dean Amin, he got just physically assaulted by Wanderlei Silva. And but that's just the nature of his game. He's a very risky fighter. He's not as wide open as Chris Weidman, but he goes at it, he goes for it. And sometimes that leaves openings. And if he fights that way against Brandon Vera, I think he might get stopped, just like he was in his last fight. But if he fights like he did the way against Chuck Liddell, but Chuck Liddell is kind of easier to game plan for because he just does the same thing every time. Brandon Vera's gonna come. I think Brandon Vera's gonna come at it. Keith Jardine's gonna go at it. Let me see. Keith Jardine, I don't see him trying to take him down. He might want to stand up, and I think Brandon Vera has an advantage in this. So I'll probably give it the decision. But Keith Jardine, you never know. He could get stopped at any second. Doesn't have a bad chin, but like I said, he's very risky. And sometimes that'll come back to bite him. And if he's not on his P's and Q's, then it'll be a short night for him again. He'll wake up to find himself in England on a Saturday. But yeah, like I said, Brandon Vera, decision. I just see him having way too many tools for the Dean Amin. Next is Ramon Dere Sakadu, if I pronounce that anyway, right? We'll go with Sokaju like everyone else does, versus Luis Satra Banya Kane. That's the way I heard it said once. That's the way I like it. Both are pretty exciting fighters. I like Luis Kane. He's very good on the ground. He's very good standing up. Lets his hands go. And has very educated with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And Ramon Tari, he's not that. He hasn't shown much on the ground. I think last time I really saw him on the ground, he was getting choked out by Lyoto Machida. But I think this fight. I think Luis, from what I've seen, if it goes to the ground, he's cool on the ground. But he starts off standing and he'll let go. I think Sokaju's a little bigger than him, a little stronger than him, and has some great one-punch power. And if Luis fights sloppy or something, I think it might be another knockout for the African assassin. But like I said, we'll see. But I think I'll put the advantage to Sokaju. And we'll see what goes on. I'm looking forward to this fight. I've heard so many good things about Luis Kane from my boy Pedro, and we'll just see how this goes. I give the thumbs up to Sokju, but you never know. On the undercard, it's kind of underwhelming. You got Marcus Davis, even though versus Paul Kelly, they're two good fighters who really go at it. I think Marcus Davis, he's hard to beat. Paul Kelly is very tough, but this might be Marcus Davis is always a tough fight for anybody, and I don't know if Paul Kelly is up to that yet. He had a good showing against Paul Taylor, and he's undefeated so far, but we'll just see where he goes. And this will be a pretty good fight. But I think I'll give the Duke to Marcus Davis, even though Paul Kelly can very well pull off a decision. I don't see this one finishing, even though Marcus Davis will knock you out if you back up. So we just go to Marcus Davis. Next we got Lytle versus Taylor. That's gonna be a pretty good one. Actually, it'll probably be a pretty boring decision by Chris Lytle. Anyway, I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for me. I'll see y'all later at UFC 90. UFC 90. I guess so. That's one I'm looking very much forward to, and I'll probably be back in a little bit with that. See you later, and we'll be back.